Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, and most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast. And because at the end of the day, I only want to speak to individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take this information and apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Friday, Q&A day. I got a couple of Qs in the DMs. And I will be answering them. As always, you guys, all these questions can remain anonymous, right? Like, because I know that there's people out there who don't want to, information out there, and that's fine. I completely will keep all of your questions anonymous out there. And I'm just, again, like this situation, the situations that we're going through are applicable to every single one of us. So it's more about asking the question and putting that information out there because others might be in that predicament as well. Before we get started, though, you guys know what I got to do. I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers. And what's best about this is you get paid to move these. Yeah, that's right. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out, you guys. So if you have some customers that require a drop trailer or power only, or if you're a small fleet and an owner op and your trailer's in the shop, you can just jump on VHub and you get paid to move them, and then you can get paid by loading these trailers out. So what they got working, San Diego, California, Ron Burgundy's hometown. They got them going to multiple locations out here, you guys. They got some roll-up doors going to Wisconsin and New Hampshire. And then they also have some dry vans going to Arkansas, Illinois, Ohio, and Minnesota. And they range between $1,100 and $2,200 per trailer, you guys. That's right, per trailer. Like, that's massive. And then they also have Paragould, Arkansas to Mississauga, Ontario, paying $736 US per trailer, you guys. And again, you don't have to just pick them up in those cities in San Diego or Paragould. You can grab them there, reposition them into a different market. They just have to end up in the destination cities, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My man Zach Lonergan's already in the audience, and Stacy Steen, she'll be in there as well. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Zach says Friday. I more like Friday. Am I right? Zach, that sounds like a bad dad joke, buddy. I'm going to be honest with you. Tracy St. Clair in the house. She's watching over on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in as always. Carla Isted, what is up? Good morning to you. This just says LinkedIn user. Hello. Whoever has the security settings to where they're remaining anonymous. It's working. Catherine Whitehouse, good Friday morning to you. Corey Ritchie, good Friday morning. Flo, what is up? Hello and good morning. My man, Sonny Sharma, good fucking Friday. Let's go, baby. Cole, what is up, my dude? Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Yeah, a lot of shit going on today, you guys. A lot of stuff going on. We're completing bids. We're bidding on freight right now. I did my, I released a podcast with my friend, friends over at LoadSmart. I'm sorry. And sorry, I talked to LoadSure on Tuesday with Johnny McCord, but I talked to my friends over at LoadSmart, and we were talking about the RFP process out there. And for me personally, I personally think that RFPs they're not going to go away. They're just going to look extremely different. I was talking with Casey Monahan, and he's over at LoadSmart, excuse me. And we were talking about the traditional RFP, and I was thinking about it a lot when we were doing the interview a couple weeks back, and then going through RFPs currently right now and how that has changed, right? And then furthermore, it's like just thinking about the workload, right? Because it's like when I go out there and do an RFP for a customer and say it's on an Excel spreadsheet, I only think about me in that moment, not, to let alone there's probably 50 other providers that are doing that. Just think about all that data that you have to go through. And it's amazing to me to see where that has evolved. And I think it's going to evolve even more. I am convinced of this. Again, I have no proof. This is just my intuition that the days of the traditional RFP of like an annual or an every 2 year are done. I would say we're going to start seeing more and more quarterly RFPs. And then I would say in the not so distant future, we're going to start seeing monthlies. And because like as the digital platforms like LoadSmart gets smarter, sorry, I couldn't think of a better word to use there. They're going to be able to compile data at a faster rate, and they're going to be able to capture more real-time markets. So I personally think that the spot market could technically absolve. Technically. Probably not going to happen. Somebody's going to hear that and be like, there's zero chance, but I get it. But I think that there's a way for it to become more and more efficient out there. And then on top of that, being able to provide pricing, you just go to my friends over at Green Screen up here. Sorry, I fuck that up every single time. I'm using them right now. Like we're able to bust out so many lanes in such a more efficient time by utilizing them and by using them for quoting and everything else, and then just seeing our freight increase on one loads. It's insane. That's what I love the most about, kind of how both of these things have blended together. My media stuff here with the podcast, as well as my brokerages, is I use them inside of my brokerage, right? Like I used LoadSmart for another customer of ours to do their RFP. And then I use Green Screens to price all of that freight. So it's awesome. And then also my brokerage is under SPI Logistics. And then I'm out there utilizing VHub and everything else. And it's just evolving. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's all I got to say, you guys. And I appreciate all the support. I appreciate you guys checking out my advertisers as well to kind of keep this stuff going every single day in and day out. We're making stuff happen. That's all I know. But today is Q&A day. I got some Q's dropped in the DMs here, and I'm going to answer them live on the show. Mohammed, good morning, sir. Thanks for tuning in. Bill McIntyre, top of the morning. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Adolfo Rodriguez, here we go. Buenos dias. Happy Friday, Adolfo. Bob Hazrati, it's freaking Friday, folks. Have a great weekend, everyone. I love it. All right, let's get into the Q. Question is about dedicated carriers. Again, both of them that sent these over asked to remain anonymous, so I'm going to keep them anonymous on there. Said, hi, Chris, how are you? I have a strange question. I've been a broker for about 13 years. I have dedicated carriers for certain lanes for a big customer of ours. Every time I get a new dedicated carrier for a lane where we win anywhere between $40 to $100 on said lanes. This has happened on about 7 lanes now. After I get dedicated carriers going, my customer rep will always want to drop the rate because he will see the same or similar loads for less. Any idea how I can get them to listen to the people on the phone like myself to stop dropping dedicated rates? Or am I wrong and they should drop the rates on dedicated lanes? This is a great question. This is a phenomenal question, actually. I am never about dropping rates on my core carriers. I never, ever, because I look at this long term and I understand the mentality with a lot of this stuff. I truly do. I get it. And I'm not telling you how to run your brokerage here. I'm just telling you how I would do it. I frankly get sick and tired of going through repeat carriers, or not repeat carriers. I'm sorry. I get sick and tired of recycling carriers all the time. Right. And I just think like, I know everyone's going to be like, oh, double brokering. Oh, this and that. That shit happens all the fucking time. And it's been going on for a long time. But this is one of the most foolproof ways of massively reducing a lot of that stuff happening is when you're working with the same carriers time and time again, especially he listed the customer's name in here, but I'm not going to mention it. This is a massive shipper. There is a lot of freight that comes along with it. And in a highly competitive RFP environment like that, you make your money in volume, right? And I personally think if you're going to go out there and reduce a carrier's rate by $25, come the fuck on. You're trying to save pennies at that point because what happens is then then your carriers out there are going to start looking at other rates, right? And then if you're say paying $1,000 to a carrier, and then they're like, you want to do it at 975, and then say you find a carrier at 975 that one time you find them at 975, then your original carrier who was doing it for 1,000 flawlessly stops taking your phone calls. Then the spot market shifts. Now all of a sudden you're paying $1,100 or $1,050, and you're just at a loss at that. I think if you're truly going to be committed to the ebbs and flows of this industry as a broker, sometimes you're going to make money and sometimes you're not. But at the end of the day, you have to consistently show up to your customers. And for me personally, I would assume the individual who asked this question, their sales rep, is probably the motherfucker out there on LinkedIn who you see all the time. Oh, we appreciate relationships. We need relationships, yada, yada, yada. When the market's not in the broker's favor. All right. That's when you see all the brokers out there banging that fucking relationship drum all the time. Oh, we need relationships. We need relationships. But that strategy is their common way of operating right now when it's in the broker's favor. So again, I think you hold firm on that. You hold firm on that. If you're out there working with said carriers, and you need to explain it. But the thing is, those carriers that you're booking at those rates have to be performing, right? If your fall offs are still the same and your shit's all this, you don't really have a place to really stand in that argument, in the justification aspect of things. I personally feel that if you have a dedicated carrier, an established carrier like you're describing right here, they're showing up on time, they're delivering on time. If there's paperwork requirements, tracking requirements, they're doing all of that. That is why, because that customer that they're talking about here most likely runs a massive RFP. You're graded on your on-time percentages, your tender acceptance rates, and all of that shit. So if you're looking at it long-term, I would keep using them personally. That's what we do right now in my company, right? Well, I'm all about the long-term stuff. I am not, yes, I'm concerned about today, but I know if I don't do the work today, tomorrow's results will never happen. And I think that once you build this up and you get this rolling, you make your money in volume as a broker. And especially with this customer being a dry van customer, you make your money in volume. You really do. Like, I think the national average for margins for brokers on dry vans is like 13 to 14%. I want to say is where it's at. I know that might be a tough pill to swallow for somebody who thinks all brokers make 30 to 40% on loads. But I think personally that you keep doing this and then you grow and you're able to accept more freight. Because again, it's how much time are you losing by trying to find new carriers on this every single day when it seems like, oh, hey, you can make an extra $25, but I don't think you can. I think it costs you more money in the long term, because then that might be that point where it's like carriers just keep falling off the load. I would start tracking how many times carriers fall off at 975 over 1,000. Those are arbitrary examples here, you guys. They didn't mention anything what they're actually paying. But I think by doing that, that gives you more time once you're pre-booked. That gives you more time to take on more freight. If that customer comes to you for more opportunities, you're able to do it. And you're not sitting there as a sales rep looking at your load board and being like, fuck, we got 7 open loads for today, and our customer just hit us up to see if we can move 5 more. Imagine if you just booked all of those original loads at the rates that you had dedicated carriers on, and then you can take on 5 more loads, and then you make more money that way. That's how this works. And I think for me personally, that is how I would do it. That's how I do it. And if anybody who's going to listen to this on the replay or who's listening to it right now, this is what I'm applying inside of my brokerage. I will show you how it's done, and my results will speak for themselves, because my P&L will speak for itself. My customer retention will speak for itself at that point. It's not easy. All right. Nothing that I talk about for best practices is easy when you first get started, but in time, it has to fucking evolve and you have to change, because, like I've talked about before, I was one of those shitbag brokers early on in my career. I will admit it. I'm not perfect. Nobody who's fucking watching this or listening to this is perfect. But then, you know what? reality kicked me in the teeth a couple of times, and I lost a lot of business because I was operating that way. And ironically, when I switched my perspective around, things started to change. So that's all I'll say. It's a great question. It was a great question because I wanted to talk today about building a carrier, like a carrier base out there, and this question really fit into it. Robert, what is up? Robert Pietkowski, excuse me. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in, man. Sonny Sharma, yeah, when you have that problem, post your loads on Broker Carrier. Just saying, we let our users do the talking for us at Broker Carrier, and that is very accurate. You know, it's, again, I believe in this methodology so fucking much. Not only do I apply it inside of my freight brokerage, but I apply it inside of Broker Carrier, my tech company that I'm involved in. I'm not going to say, you know, Kyle, my business partner, is the fucking brains behind everything. I'm just the looks, if that's any consolation. But we do that in there, you guys, because I'm all about in-network utilization, right? I'm all about efficiencies inside of that and reusing the same carriers time and time again and building that up. And you can get your loads covered with the exact same carriers, and then you can take on more freight. It frees up your time and everything else. And you know what? And then frankly, it's another great way to minimize all the bullshit that everybody's, you know, posting about on social media right now, because they're utilizing in-network carriers time and time again. Kind of like I was talking about in answering that dude's question. For example, it minimizes the risk. Anyways, sorry about that. I haven't had enough coffee yet, if you think I'm fucking psyched up right now. Next question. Let me see here. Sonny Sharma says, we found carriers in our network to run lanes that we had no idea they would. Let's go. Let's go, Sonny. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Next question. I have a question is what I lead in. I have a question for other small regional carriers. It seems like our business has been taking one major hit after another these last 10 weeks. I'm talking about long-term partnerships going away. The good thing is that it had nothing to do with our levels of service. The awful part is that either they lost the business, or private shippers went south due to pricing. Either way, we lost the fucking business. I love that. They literally said that in there. It's not just me adding it in. Being a trucking company built on mostly in their niche there, it's time to pivot and do so fast. I've come up with several trucking programs, and I'm cold calling the shit out of prospects. Am I just too old school? I need an attention grabber. Driver earnings are on the line here. You can edit this to the point if you feel it's a question worth asking. Of course, it's a question worth asking. So I am a firm believer that, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. Cold calling's not dead. I'm just going to put that out there right now. When I first got into this industry, cold calling was the only method of selling, right? It was smile and dial, baby, hammer those phones, 100 calls a day, you name it, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think that that's the most effective tool anymore. I really don't, because there's other ways of getting in front of people, right? There's other ways of getting people, like, because I have some friends that are transportation managers who have literally told me, they're like, I don't have a desk phone. They're like, you can email me. If you can get my email, that's the only way I'll respond, is via email. They're not going to respond via phone because they don't fucking have one on their desk. But I think that it's completely dependent upon the individual. I am a firm believer in identifying which way your prospect likes to communicate. I want to meet people in person. That is something that I am pushing big time, is setting aside multiple days throughout the month to get out there, set in-person meetings local here in Arizona, and get out there and just see people face to face. I really do. I'm a firm believer in this, and I've talked about this a lot. When everybody says automate and go to the right, turn around to the left and sprint. And I'm talking about the sales process only. Operationally, fucking automate the shit out of that stuff. But when it comes to the relationship piece, I do not think you should ever automate that. I really don't. I want people I want them to know how much I fucking care. That's the big thing. I want people to know how much I care, because this isn't a game to me at all. This is literally how I provide for my family, and they need to feel that. And it's very tough for me to put that in words in an email or a direct message or even over a phone call, right? But if I'm looking somebody eye to eye and we're sitting there face to face and we're having a real conversation, they're going to be able to fucking feel that I care. That's what I want to go with, because again, this isn't a game to me. This is long term. This is about cementing my family's legacy in this industry. And this is about changing the industry as a whole and upping the levels of service and all the shit that you see over there on social media. I'm going to be a fucking change agent for all of that stuff. And they'll never get that in any other way. And I think that you hammer on that niche, right? Like this individual who's asked this has, they've been in the industry for a bit. So I'm not going to, because again, when I say choose a niche, you guys, a niche market in a niche region, I mean, like if you're really just like starting out fresh as a sales rep, maybe within the year, or less experience, I want you calling on one customer type and one freight market. I think you do that. But if you've got experience in there, like again, I've been doing this for a long time. Yes, my specialization is always open deck and heavy haul. We are the top provider in the nation of open deck and heavy haul transportation. You're not going to convince me any differently. We primarily focus in here in the Southwest and then the upper Midwest where our other office is. But I do prospect other companies kind of across the nation because of my experience level. But that's really the only market that we hammer. I also do we do dry van freight, right? Because I personally think that for a lot of the flatbed customers that I have, they have a dry van component. So that's really where we fluctuate between. Just like if you primarily focus in on reefer freight and they have a couple of dry van shipments, of course you're going to provide for that. But as you're building up your book of business and going for it, focus in on one area, and then furthermore, a lot of your prospects and your customers, they only want you to bid on freight that you can do, right? So that's another RFP strategy that we could talk about as well here, you guys. When you're filling out RFPs, only fill out the lanes that you know that you can do and the freight that you can do. Don't go in there and just bid on freight for the sake of bidding on it. I don't agree with that philosophy. Somebody might disagree with that, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. My honest assessment on RFPs is only bid on the freight that you know you can do and stick with that. For this question here, keep doing what you guys are doing. I don't think, because my methodology, my thought process is I don't change. The market can change. I don't change. I'm going to provide the exact same level of service and communication in any freight market out there. I'm going to keep my outreaches up in any freight market out there. I don't change for shit. Somebody might see that sounds a little bit arrogant, and that's fucking fine. But I don't think, and especially if you're an asset-based carrier like you are in this situation, as tough as it is, I just think that you keep doing what you're doing. And then eventually, because I've had customers pull business before because of price. And guess what? That business always miraculously ended up back in my lap a couple weeks or months later. It's only a matter of time out there. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting for that. An attention grabber, I think, to answer your question, is if you specialize in air freight, talk about something that only someone who knows air freight would be able to mention, and that would be your attention grabber. Right? Because I don't know shit about air freight. What does Ruth say from I don't know shit about fuck? Sorry, that's Ozarks. I don't know anything about air freight. Could I figure it out? Yeah, but I can't compete with you on that. So position yourself to where only somebody who knows air freight would be able to prospect based on that. And I think if you change your verbiage around like that, you'll get noticed that way. So, all right. Let me see here. Zach Lonergan, the carriers that you supply quality service, tell their friends, referrals. Dude, that's another thing. We literally had this happen last week, right? We've been working with a guy out of Colorado, and they've been doing a ton of, a decent amount of freight for us. And they couldn't accommodate one of the opportunities that they had. So they gave us one of their good friends' information, and we got their good friend to haul that load for us. And again, same thing. Service was in line. The pictures that we needed of the freight before it was tarped, after it was tarped, all of that communication was there. Everything was there. And that came from a referral on that. Again, you got to stick with this stuff. Papa Bear in a chair on YouTube says, I'm on my way out on the door right now to prospect in person. Get it. I like it. Go close that customer. Get that freight, baby. Get that freight. Kelly, KT, Thomas, amen. My customers become family. I love it. I love it. Adolfo Rodriguez says, let me ask you, how important are Google reviews in our industry? Is that something gaining traction? Ooh, that is an interesting question. I don't know, man. I think that Google reviews and Yelp reviews to me are like, they're so subjective, right? Because, I mean, dude, I've eaten at some restaurants before that their Google reviews are fucking atrocious online, right? But the food's phenomenal. The service is phenomenal. Now, if you're looking at a Google review and 1,000 people have given it a 1-star review, I think that's something that you might want to take into consideration. But I think that for me, in today's day and age, man, with social media and with all this stuff, man, there's like bots and shit that can go out there and attack companies and content creators and everything else for no fucking reason. So I think that I don't know. I believe in once for curiosity, no matter what, I'm going to give it a try. But I think like if you are doing the right thing, that will always get highlighted, right? So I think that, yeah, it's a part of it. I don't know if it's as major of a part. I don't think it's as major of a part as some other industries. But again, there's something to pay attention to. But I think that your service and everything will always speak for itself in those moments, Adolfo. Let me see here. Taiwo, good morning. Good day to you. Catherine Whitehouse, I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in and your support, Catherine. Yeah, so I guess as we're kind of wrapping up here today, you guys, again, those are some good questions. And I think that, again, that database that we're talking about, that core carrier network and everything, it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it every single time. And I can't speak for how other organizations run. I can only control my company. I can only worry about my performance and everything else. But if you're working for one of those companies right now and you've been servicing those accounts and you've been paying those same carriers $1,000 and they're telling you to reduce the rate, I don't know. I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with that at all. I think that's very, 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 very short term. And I think that it's going to come back and bite you in the ass in more ways than not. And I truly think you got to apply these strategies time and time again to really see a difference in this. And you got to go through these markets, the up markets, the down markets, and everything else. Because again, I've talked to a lot of shippers in my career. I've talked to a lot of people, and I know that when you're getting started off, price is a thing. But time and time again, if you're actually outperforming everyone, not in your mind, but if you're actually outperforming everyone, your higher prices become justified, and then they work with you. And then you can insulate yourself from a lot of these market shifts. Because again, I want to keep those carrier rates up. I want to keep those carrier rates up as high as I possibly can to get them the most money out there so they don't have to make tough decisions. And especially if the service and everything's there. I don't believe in working with somebody for a little bit and then dropping it. I can't speak for everyone and how people operate, because I know someone could be like, oh, I've tried that as a broker, yada, yada, yada. Just stick with it. It's a winning strategy. And I'll just show you guys, as I told you, I'm literally going to build the largest transportation company in North American history. And I'm going to show you guys how it's done in time. But that is going to be it for today, you guys. The Freight Coach Morning Show will be back on Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. And as always, provide some actual insight into what you can do. If you guys got value, subscribe and share the show. Rank the show out there on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. Because if you see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.